Dear participants, welcome back. So, this is our last session, last technical session in the FTP. So, we have a very special speaker today, Abdul Khader Abdullah. He is co founder and chief executive officer of Alcodex Technologies. Alcodex is basically doing their IoT related business in India as well as in Middle East. So basically, they are concentrating on products, IoT based products on environmental monitoring. So Mr. Abdullah has served as head of the embedded software development business unit before co-founding Alcodex Technologies. So he did his BTech in computer science from a very prestigious engineering college of Kerala, Mar Athanasius College, Kotamangalam, and he did his MTech degree from my department, Cochin University of Science and Technology, uh, and he owns a management excellence degree from Duke University, US. So I'm very happy to have Mr. Abdullah for the day as a speaker. He is one of the very studious student of mine. So with that fondness, I invite Abdullah to this session. Please share your valuable experience to the participants so that they will be getting delighted and motivated to work in the field of IoT. So Abdullah will be talking about structural integrity monitoring, uh, and he will be sharing a lot of applications related to that. So most welcome, Abdullah. Over to you.
Thank you very much, sir. It was so generous. I'm very happy to be here today with you all. Thank you all for your time with me today here. I know you're all very busy, you have many things to do. I'll try to conclude my discussions in one and a half hours time. I'll take you through one of the applications we had done with IoT. So you may be interested in going through the real process of implementing an IoT solution. So that's what I'm trying to do. I'm not giving any theories or anything that you are all very familiar with. So it's purely an application that we recently worked on. So before I jump into it, I'll talk a few words about what I do here right now in my company. So we, Alcodex Technologies, are into IoT business since it started. We actually implement, we have a product which monitors environmental conditions.
Excuse me, Abdullah. Could you
Yeah,
adjust your mic so that we can
yeah.
yeah, hear you clearly?
Hello, is it okay now?
Yeah, it's better, better. Yeah,
Hello.
thank you.
Okay. Okay. So I am visible also, right, sir? Hello.
Yes, you are visible. Yeah.
Okay. So we have a product which monitors environmental parameters, which we have installed like 250 installations all over India, especially in smart cities, which brings all the environmental parameters into the cloud server, and then we give this data to different government departments like pollution control board and municipal authorities and all. So we have that product. This is not the solution that I'm going to talk today is not about that. It is about another project that we did recently, which brings a lot of interest in me personally. So I thought I will discuss that with you. So can I share my screen, sir?
Yes, yes. Yeah.
Let's see. Yeah, share screen.
Yes, we can see your slides in full screen. Yeah.
Ah, okay. Okay. Today I'll be talking about structural health monitoring of telecom towers. So we worked with a large telecom tower company recently to monitor their uh, tower infrastructure health. Basically, structural health monitoring is a huge subject. If you go through internet, you can see plenty of researches in that area. Basically, due to the importance of that topic, because there are many structures like huge buildings, bridges, towers, etc., are there, which has to be monitored continuously, else it is going to create a lot of problems for the asset owners. Basically, the problems are multiple kind of problems. Like it can lead to revenue loss, it can lead to safety issues, so many problems. So it's very important that they have to monitor it continuously. Unfortunately, even now people do it manually. uh, some of them already automated it, but when now people do it manually, right, it can create a lot of errors, human errors, and you cannot have a lot of samples collected from the sites to do it. So it's a huge business even now. It's a huge topic, and a lot of people are interested in it, and a lot of researches are going on even now in it. Okay. So that is very important. Structural health monitoring is very important. There is huge relevance for that topic even now. Um, so how do we do structural health monitoring? How these technologies are helping us in doing structural health monitoring? So what we do is we use different kind of sensors that we install on the structure and structure premises to get the data continuously from the premises or from the structures. And we get the data and then analyze the data, and we come up with some sort of inferences which tells us whether the structure is healthy, or it is completely utilized, or it is underutilized, or it is overutilized. All those information you can come up from the data. So for doing that, we need different kind of sensors for sure, and different kind of sensors has to be installed on the tower or the structure at different locations. And this is, yeah, being said, it is not that simple as we think it is. It is very difficult job to finalize the parameters that needs to be monitored, finalize the sensors that needs to be installed, and installing the sensors, collecting the data, and maintaining it. It's not that easy, but I'll take you through one of the live experience we had recently. Okay. So basically, what we have is the sensors, we have the connectivity, and we have the data, and that is basically IoT. We all know. Okay. So the problem that we worked recently is one of the largest tower owners of Far East asked us to monitor the health of their 22,000 towers, telecom towers installed across 4 different countries. So one tower itself is a huge problem for them. So 22,000 tower means you can imagine the kind of magnitude they are looking at. So it's a huge operational problem they are into. Though they have different systems, different subsystems and multiple systems, still they have incidences like tower has fire, tower has collapsed, tower is overloaded, tower is not functional, there is no electricity, people steal things from the tower, people install different unauthorized things on the tower. So many things happens in the tower, so it's very hard for them to maintain it and fully functional. It's a very tough job for them. So they have, like I said, they have multiple solutions, but still they don't have a solution to monitor how much load, how much installations are already done on the tower, which is a safe situation, which is overloaded. They cannot find out that right now. They have problems with it. So we had different discussions with this CEO of the company, and he was ready to experiment one solution that we suggested. That is how we started. Okay. So why is this important? Why we need to monitor the health of the asset? Why is that important? There are two major reasons for it. One is the revenue loss. That is the biggest issue for any CEO. because if there is a revenue loss or the loss in the business, then his job is at stake. So revenue loss is one of the biggest problems. How the revenue loss comes? Revenue loss comes in different ways. One way is if the asset is underutilized, so it means there is a revenue loss. And if the asset is not functional, it collapses. That is also causing revenue loss. And if there are SLAs, like service level agreements with their customers are mainly the telecom providers, like Vodafone and all. So if there are SLAs, they may be having SLAs like 99.9% uptime and all. And if the tower goes down due to some reason, they cannot meet the SLAs. So there will be SLA violations that will lead to the penalties. And then again, they have a revenue loss. So this is the biggest problem for them, biggest
Abdul
concern
Kader,
for them.
sorry,
Yeah.
sorry to interrupt you.
Yes, sir.
Voice is not clear, sir. I think from your side, please.
Let me switch my audio. Okay, I'm using. Okay, let me switch my audio. So everybody has the same problem.
I suppose, but
Okay.
now, no, you begin with very clarity, but now in between the voice was.
His voice is a
Okay.
problem.
Oh, okay. Let me disconnect my headset and try
No,
to use
now
the
it is okay. Now it is
computer audio.
okay. I don't know. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So whenever there is a problem, just let me know so that I can.
Yeah, now it
change
is
my
clear. Clear. Yeah, please go
audio.
ahead.
Oh, okay. Okay. Thank you, sir. Okay. If I am going very fast, let me know so that I can slow down. So for me, it's all in my head, so it goes very fast. So you may take some time to get it. So let me know if I'm going very fast. Okay. Okay. So shall I continue? Hello.
Yes, please.
Hello.
Yes, please.
Okay. Okay.
Continue. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, sir. Okay. So I was talking about the SLA violations and the penalties that they incur, which in turn results in the revenue loss and loss in the business. And another issue that they usually get into is the legal issues, which is created due to the collapse or damage in the tower. So which can, if a tower collapses, it can collapse the near other assets also nearby it. So it can create, and it can also create human casualties. So government will also jump into it. All the media will jump into it. So many problems. So there's a whole legal battle they are into when they are maintaining this assets. So these are the two major issues the CEO is concerned about when we are talking to him, and we found that okay, this is genuine. This is something that we can help him to solve using the technology. So we decided to work with him and his team. So when we were talking to him and we were giving some suggestions and we were having some really good discussion, so he said, okay, let's directly go to my operational manager and let's have a discussion with him. And then he continued talking and talking, and then he said, okay, he called his operational manager to his room, and then we have a discussion with him. And he was giving me a completely different perspective of the problem. He said, hey, I have a problem of DC leakage in the tower. I have a problem of somebody climbs on the tower illegally. I have a problem of power outage in the tower. I have a problem of the aviation light doesn't work on the tower. I have a problem of corrosion. So there are many problems he's bringing up. He started bringing up. So now the problem started expanding. Now the problem space is expanding and expanding. And then, okay, so we made a proposal and we discussed a proposal with them, and they set up a meeting with their engineering manager. So then we went to the engineering manager. We had a discussion. So then she was talking about, see, I wanted to know the strain in the different locations of the tower. So the problem again started increasing. So they were asking about what is the strain of the tower when the wind hit on the tower, like 33 meters per second. So they wanted to know that because that helps them in designing the tower. Yeah, now the problem is even bigger. So that is how the problem expanded and expanded, and we made a proposal based on the inputs they have given, and we started on the project. So we decided to work together on this because nobody had done this before. So it's a huge company, it's a $1 billion company, so they can hire anyone to do it. But they couldn't do it so far because nobody offered them a solution. So we were discussing with them. They said, okay, we'll work together, and okay, let's start something. So that's how we started. That is the whole story behind this project. And then any questions here so far, so that we can discuss and we move forward. Okay, so let me move forward. So let's understand the problem now. So I already gave a glimpse of the problem, but I'll try to uh, make it objective for you so that it's very easy to digest and understand. So telecom towers usually are different types of towers. There are monopole towers, which you might have seen on the top of some buildings and all. It's a single pole where you install different antennas and RRUs and all. And there are lattice towers, like the huge structure, the steel structures that you see on the ground on remote locations and all, which is also of different heights. Okay. So, and they have 3-leg towers, they have 4-leg towers, there are different kinds of towers. Okay. Towers are not common, it's all different. Okay, that is the biggest problem that we need to consider when we design a solution. And it's all outdoor, none of them is indoor. It's all outdoor. Outdoor means it is all exposed to a lot of harsh conditions, like there are thermal issues due to the sun. So the tower expands and contracts because of the thermal issues due to the sun. And if it rains, that's a problem because every system is in rain. Right? Sometimes this area floods and huge rains. There will be tornadoes. There will be heavy winds. There will be lightning. So many things, earthquakes, and some of these towers are near to the sea, so it faces the corrosion. So many problems they have. So this all these things has to be considered when we design a system on the tower, because all these issues are going to affect our system also. So it's very, very important that we consider all these external parameters when we design the system. Okay. And another problem, that's a major problem actually. Another problem is some of this, most of these installations are remote, where it's not very easy for us to reach. Like if I'm sorry. Hello. Okay. Sir, I'm audible, right, sir? So I need some feedback so that. Hello.
Yes, sir, you are audible.
Okay, I see.
Participants, please mute your mic so that we don't have a disturbance during the presentation. Yeah, Abdul, you can continue.
Okay, I can see, I can hear some. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. And major number of the installations are in remote locations. The problem with that is reaching out the location is a big issue. Like if it is in a desert, there won't be any roads to reach there. So it's a problem. If there is an issue in the tower, then it's not easy for us to go there and fix it. And if it is in a mountain, it's a problem. It's not easy. There will not be any roads. And if it is a jungle, then it's a problem. So this is another issue they're facing. They have to repair or to find out one problem in a tower, they'll have to spend a lot. So it's not easy for them to go every day and check whether the tower is okay or everything is fine. So it's not easy. So that is another issue they are facing. And another issue is the theft. So there are a lot of assets in the area. Like there will be DC generators, there will be so many other installations, antennas, so many things in the tower premises. So people, right, people go and steal things. And there will be power outages. And people climb on the tower illegally. The problem with that is when they climb on the tower, the vibration is going to increase and can create issues for the functioning of the tower. and they install things illegally on the tower. Okay, they will not notify the tower owner before they install it. They simply install it. And there will be DC leakages on the tower sometimes. So that will create human casualties also. That is also another problem they're facing. So these are all, and like I said, they install things that that is not supposed to be on the tower, which can also create issues. So there are many problems they are into every day. These are the kind of problems they are dealing with, and we are giving solutions. When we give solution, we need to consider all these factors, else our systems will not up and running. Then how do we assess? The next question is, how do we assess the structural health? So what are the different parameters that decides the health of a structure? So that's a big question. So we need to identify what are those parameters. Then only we can identify the sensors, suitable sensors, and fix it. So the one of the biggest thing is the vibration, that everybody uses vibration to do the predictive maintenance. If they see a variation vibration, it's likely that it is going to fail. So vibration, monitoring vibration is one of the very important thing to a predictive maintenance. So that is one parameter that is a very straight shot, so everybody gets it. Okay. Another is sway. The problem is if the tower sway is more than 0.5 degree, they have a problem in the service. Like, so their microwaves will stop working. So it's important that the tower sway is not going more than 0.5 degree. So they have to monitor it. If there is a tendency of tower sway is going more, they can identify it easily and they can go and fix it. So it's very important that you monitor it properly. Another is, like I said, corrosion. Corrosion, the problem with corrosion is you never know when it is going to fail. So one day it suddenly fails. So corrosion has to be monitored continuously. Another issue with corrosion is corrosion happens in different locations of the tower, especially in the joints. So wherever the joints are, you need to put sensors. That is another big issue when monitoring the corrosion. So that is one problem that we need to solve. And the biggest thing is the strain on the tower. We are going to find out the load, the strain, the load on the tower from the strain values of the tower. The problem is there are different locations that needs to be identified where the strain sensors needs to be installed. And from the strain sensor, it is not a direct measurement because there are many factors affecting the strain sensor. So the strain sensor location has to be identified properly and then it needs to be fixed. Problem with fixing strain sensor is you cannot do it with a clamp or nut and bolt. So you need to paste it on the tower because you're taking the strain of the material of the tower. So it's very important that you do it properly. If you don't do it properly, all the values are wrong and then your assumption, your predictions or your inferences are going to be wrong. So it's an expert job. We had to train. And another thing is you cannot simply go and climb on a tower, even if the tower owner asks you to do so, because you need a lot of trainings and certification to do it. So there are only few people doing it. So we need to train them to do it. You cannot go and climb and do it. So, so we need to train people and do it. So we need to send them to the up and we need to take the photographs and see whether it is okay or not. It's a back and forth, a lot of back and forth, and it's a very complicated thing to get these things done. Okay, so we had done that. So we installed like 12 strain sensors on the tower. Then the big question: why IoT? Why we need IoT to do it? Why can't we use some other methods to do it? Like I said before, if you do it manually, nowadays people are doing it manually. There are a lot of people, a lot of systems that do it manually nowadays, even nowadays. The problem with doing it manually is you cannot have a lot of samples by measuring it manually. You can measure the sample, say, if you want to get the strain of the tower in a particular location, you can get the strain, but you need to get the strain value in related to the wind, temperature, and so many other external factors also. You cannot correlate all these things together. It's very difficult to measure all these things together at the same instance manually. And you will make a lot of mistakes if you do it manually. So if your data is not correct, then your inferences are going to be wrong. So it's very difficult and it's very inefficient. And you really have to go to the site, which is also another problem. So IoT is one technology that help us solving that problem. So that's why we use IoT for this. So everybody knows how an IoT system looks like. You have sensors, you have a distributed network, and then it goes. The data will be collected periodically and goes to the cloud. And from the cloud, you do a lot of analytics, and you have dashboards. You have mobile applications to see the inferences and decisions and all those outcomes. You can see that. And like I said, we have vibration sensors. We have vibration sensor basically is an accelerometer. So we built it for ourselves using an accelerometer. We didn't buy it. We just bought accelerometer and did it. And we have sway sensor, which used gyroscopes and accelerometer together. So that's also we built it for the purpose. And using that, we calculate the sway. And strain sensors, we bought it and we just fixed it. That actually measures the strain on the different points in the tower. And then we do some analytics on the data to find out the load, the static load, the dynamic loads, and all in the tower. And we have additionally we have wind sensor, which we need because any point in time, the strain sensor value is influenced by the wind. So I'll show you the wind data, then you'll know. And I'll show you the other environmental data, then you'll know how it is going to be influenced in the strain data. And then you have corrosion and temperature and humidity is another important parameter that has to be monitored continuously to make meaning out of the data that we are collecting from the other sensors like vibration or strain and all. Okay, and with this all data together, what we do, we just do some modeling, data modeling, and we do some predictions, and from that we get the load, the health situation of the tower. So that is the whole idea of the solution, and then I'll take you through each step one by one, so that you'll understand it more. So if you look here, I don't know whether you are able to see this or not. Even I am not able to see it properly, but I'll try to explain it. But if you need more information, just be in touch with me so that I can explain you more. So we have, like I said, we have multiple points where we need to monitor the strain. So we have around 6. We divided the tower into 4 sections. Okay. On the top section, what we did is we put the wind sensor, and then a sway sensor, and there is an aviation sensor also on the tower because it helps flying objects like helicopter and flights to know that there is a installation. So there is an aviation sensor which every time it goes bad, and it's very hard to monitor also. You never know because it works only in the night, and you really have to go there and see whether it works or not. So they have a lot of problems with it. So we put an aviation sensor monitoring solution also on the tower. So they have it. So the aviation sensor, sway, and wind sensor goes in top of the tower, and we have the next level that is like 54 meters. This is like 60 plus meter tower. So 54 meter. What we did is we put 3 strain sensors on 3 legs of the tower. The sample tower was with 3 legs. So we put on the 3 legs, we put 3 strain sensors. Okay, so that is we did, and we put vibration sensor also in that position. The vibration sensor also we put. So the top section gets all the vibration sway and everything easily. So we put vibration sensors also there. And the next level is like 33 meter level, and where we put again another 3 sets of strain sensors, and from some redundancy also we put. Okay, and a fire sensor also we put in the 33 meter height, and it comes down to the next level. We put it is like 2 meter height actually, where we put again 6 strain sensors, on 3 legs, one, and then one on the crossbar, and one on the ladder, and another on another crossbar. So there are 6, and some redundancy also we put on the strain sensors. And at the bottom we put the gateway where the gateway controls the entire system. So now comes the biggest problem. So we have all these sensors. So how do all these sensors communicate together? That's a big problem that we had to address. So if you go through the literature of IoT, everybody uses wireless. You can see a lot of fancy tech over there, like mesh network, like star network, LoRa, lot of blah, blah, blah. You can see that. But if you really start putting all those things here, you have multiple problems. Like, so you have, if you look here, there are like 30 plus points we put sensors. So how do we bring energy and power into all these 30 plus points? It's not that easy. If you put a wireless device there, wireless device needs a lot of power, we all know. So what do we do for the power? So one obvious option is solar. And solar is again another mess, because if you have solar, then you need battery. And then the system is going to be expensive and it's going to be huge. Then another question, can we have a battery which is not rechargeable and use it? The problem is it won't last long. The battery won't last long. So what do we do? So the problem, there is no way you can get wireless on this tower structure completely so easily. You can do it. I'm not saying that it's not possible. It's possible, but it's not that easy. It's very complicated thing to do. So then next question, how do we do it? It's a problem, right? You have to get the connectivity and you have to get the power also. The connectivity is there, power is there. So how do we do that? Both, even for the connectivity, you need a lot of power if you use wireless. Then we thought a different mechanism to do it. So what we did was we placed 4 routers in 4 different levels. And all these routers are powered with PoE, power over Ethernet. So you have data is ensured over power over Ethernet, and power is also ensured over power over Ethernet. So it's all gone to the routers. So router will get all the power, all the connectivity. And from the router, you can give power to all the sensors because it's all nearby to the router. All the sensors are nearby to the router. So you can wire and you can give power to the sensors. And from the sensors, you can have connectivity options like I2C, or you can use RS485 to get all these sensors connected to the router. So the connectivity is solved, the power issue is solved. So that was one of the biggest challenges that we had to fix when we worked on the solution. So now we have a gateway which is connected with all these routers. And next problem is the time synchronization. How do we synchronize the time? So that is another problem that we need to solve, because we need to know the strain of a tower in different locations of the tower when a wind hits, or when there is an earthquake, when there is a another event like temperature change, or like if it rains suddenly, then the temperature drops and humidity increases. So all these things happen. So you need to know at what moment all these changes happen. So we need to synchronize all these reading. So to synchronize the reading, what we did is we did a algorithm in the gateway. The gateway triggers all these routers, and the router triggers the sensors to read the data. So since the gateway controls all the time machine, all the sensors read the data at the same time, and we collect data every minute. Every minute means every minute we sense the data to the cloud, but collecting the data continuously, because you never know when the wind hits like 22 meters per second. We never know. So you really have to continuously read it. So it has to be continuously read, and you never know when the wind hit 22 meters per second, or then at that moment you need the data of strain sensors, so or the other sensors, the vibration or the sway. So you have to read all these things continuously. So we are reading it continuously, and we are correlating all the data, and we are sending the data in every minute and send it back to the cloud. And we have data in the cloud. So, okay, like I said, the challenges that I just said, right? The challenges when we face when we are installing it, like one of the major challenge was the strain sensor get most of the changes due to the thermal expansion. Because, so for instance, when we were researching about it, we found that Eiffel Tower increases like its height like 6.75 inches in a sunny day. Look at the thermal exposure causing Eiffel Tower. So it expands to 6.75 inches. That is massive. For strain sensor, it takes micro strains from the tower. So 6.75 inches expansions means it's huge. So the changes in the tower, changes in the strain sensor due to the thermal expansion is huge, which is huge and which is much more than any other influence. So, loading the tower with different antennas or all. So it is much lower. So you need to understand that. If you don't understand, it's a problem. So we need to resolve that problem. That is one thing. And if you paste your, if you stick your strain sensors on the tower, if it expands more, the glue can go away. So you have to have the right glue, which works well with this environmental condition to fix it. So it's very important you find the right right resources to do it. So it's a lot of research over there. You need a lot of research really to find out that. Another problem that we went into was the lightning. So tower was supposed to be protected with lightning protector. So we are not supposed to get into the lightning issue if there is a lightning protector. Incidentally, there is a lightning protector. The problem is when they designed the tower recently, they use the tower itself as a conducting body for the lightning arrestor. So the tower body will be conducting, and all the current will passes through the tower body and reaches the earth. The problem is if you put any device on the tower, like our strain sensor, so many things are there, right? It's all will be fried when lightning hits. So unfortunately, when we did this, there were a lot of rain and there were a lot of lightnings. So those things were happening. Initially, we couldn't find out because we thought there is a lightning arrestor, there is no issue with us, with lightning for our system. And then we really started researching. And then they said that, okay, we are not using a lightning, the different cable for lightning arrestor. We use the tower body as a lightning path, lightning current path. So it's a big problem. Then then we know that our PoE wires are picking up all the coupling current and frying all our system. So we had to put a lot of protection to avoid that. So this we were not anticipating initially. That is another problem that worked. And fixing, like I said, the strain sensor fixing is an expert job. It's not a simple job. You need to polish the surface where you're going to fix the strain sensors, and you need to place it properly, else you will not be getting the right reading. And like I said, the another problem is the synchronization, which I already explained to you, which you also may be knowing. Classic synchronization problem in a distributed network, distributed computing system. And interestingly, the GSM signal is very low under the bottom of the tower. So that is another problem that we land into. The problem is none of the antennas are directed towards bottom. It is not supposed to, because the bottom of the tower, nobody is going to live. So they don't need signal in the bottom of the tower. So they don't care. So problem is, how do we connect to your cloud backend? It's a big problem we had to solve. We did some workaround to do it, and we solved it. Then the variations in temperature, the strain sensor due to the humidity, wind, sway, vibrations, and temperature and all. So you need to take out all these external parameters from the strain sensor reading to know the changes due to the loading or different installations on the tower. So that's also important, because that is one of the requirements from the engineering manager to assess the strain on different points in the tower. So all of these challenges we had to resolve to get into a solution. Now we'll start a peek into the data. I'll give you a glimpse of the data actually. So this is how the wind data looks like. If you look here, the wind data swings between like 8 meters per second to like around 0. It swings. Sometimes it takes to 22 meter per second. You never know. And the wind direction also changes. So this data, you don't see a lot of wind direction change, but some of the days the wind direction change is huge. The problem with the wind direction change is it creates a lot of vibration and other stress in the tower if the wind direction changes frequently. Even if the wind is not much, but if the direction changes, then it's a problem. It creates a lot of changes in the strain sensor which you never anticipated. So this has to be understood properly, like the wind and the wind direction. This has to be understood properly to analyze the data. And another is sway. Sway is supposed to be around 0 degree and should be less than 0.5 degree. You can see it is much lower than 0.5 degree. If it goes beyond that and stays there, if it goes beyond that and come back, it's okay, no problem. We don't have any issues. If it doesn't come back, and then it's a problem. There's microwaves will stop working. And then there will be an issue for them. So the sway has to be monitored and see the average sway is changing or not. If the average sway is changing over a period of time, then there is something wrong is going on. Then we need to find that out and fix it right away. And this is how the temperature and humidity data varies. So this is the data of one day. If you take data of multiple days, you can see just like a sine wave, you can see. I'll show you that in the later data. I can show you that. The temperature data, you can see it goes up, and at the same time, the humidity will go down. So basically, it's inversely proportional. Temperature and humidity will be always inversely proportional. That is what we see from the data. Okay. Okay. So this is the vibration. This is interesting actually. So vibration, vibration. It usually there will be a constant vibration, which is very low, which is due to the wind basically, and the other external things like if it is the tower is near some roads, then the road can create. I mean, the vehicle going through the roads can create a lot of vibrations in the tower. So those are all very common, but these are all taken care. And the pattern here, you can see some spikes here in two locations, here and here. The pattern here shows the climbing pattern. If somebody climbs on the tower, the pattern looks like this. So there is a two climbing incidents. Actually, you get two different junctures where the vibration is look a little weird. So this is basically the climbing pattern. So if you look at the vibration data, you can tell whether somebody has climbed on the tower or not. So this is very important because they want to find out if there is an illegal climbing, then they need to know. So this immediately picks up in the sensor. So it's very easy to find out. So this is a strain value. So if you look here, I'll show you the strain values in the top and bottom. So if you look here, this is a strain value from 27th of January to like 31st of January. So it varies like a sine wave. Why it is varying like a sine wave? The load is anyway not going to be like sine wave. So it's varying like a sine wave because the temperature is varying like a sine wave. Because temperature in the night is less and the noon is high. So it varies like a sine wave, and it exactly matches the pattern of temperature. There's a problem with it. So incidentally, there was an installation they had done on 29th and 30th. So it's very, very difficult for us to find out the installation done on the 29th and 30th. From this graph, it's very, very difficult because the changes due to temperature is much, much higher than the changes due to the installation. So if you look here, the value on 28th is staying here, and the top is 0. And 29th, you can see there are some changes, some peaks and all. And 30th, you can see it is coming down, and 31st again it is coming down. You can see that. And for actually they removed a lot of antennas from the tower. That's why it is coming down. And the change is very slow also. So it's very, very difficult to find out the change is due to temperature or changes due to some installation or changes due to some uninstallation. It's very, very hard. So you cannot directly go to look at the data and say that, okay, some change happened here because this is because of somebody removed something from it, or somebody added something to it, or someone climbed on it. It's very, very difficult. It's not that simple as we look it is. And this is the same day, this is the same period data in the middle, we have strain sensors. I picked one of the strain sensors in the middle. You can see the change in the pattern here. So strain is different in the middle. It varies. In 29th, you can see it is coming down, and 30th, you can see it is going up, because actually what happens was 29th, they removed some antennas, and 30th, they added some antennas. So this middle, it picks, you can see the change little more evident, the middle. Okay, in the bottom, the changes are not that evident. It is there. You can see 29th, it is going up. Maybe because the people climbed on the tower. The people, normally 2 people climb when they install one antenna. So it is like 150 kg, 2 people climb. So it's going up, and then 30th, they installed antenna. So it's again going up. And then it stabilized on 31st. So there are different behaviors you see on the strain sensors. So we need to explain all these things to the customer the way they understand it. So that is the biggest challenge we had when we were doing this. So then how do you find the load from these values? We have 12 strain sensors, we have wind sensor, we have humidity, sway, vibrations, and there are so many things, like you are monitoring like 20 parameters to just predict the load, just to know the load. So for that, what we used is some regression model. We tried different regression models to find out the influence of different variables in the data on the load, on the tower. And then we finalized one regression model. And that was a huge exercise for us, because you never know, right? You have to you have to get the right model to do the right prediction of the weights, the load. So that's a lot of data science and a lot of activities went on there. And finally, we nailed it, and we got the right model, and we trained the model. So how did we train the model? We found the model. The model was like it is predicting almost 99% of the variation on the load cell, on the load. This can be predicted with a standard error of like 30 kg, and we are still reducing it with more training data. So we could get that kind of accuracy. So what we did was like we installed non-weights in the tower, and we collected the data, and then we trained the model, and again we installed another non-weight in the tower. We collected the data and trained it. Initially, what happened was we were thinking, when we install something on the tower, the changes are going to be immediate. Yeah, of course, the changes are immediate, but the changes is not completed immediate. It takes like 4 or 5 days to complete the complete change. That's a big problem, because we never knew, because we didn't know. Nobody told us, and even they don't know. Even the tower designers, they don't know the changes are taking so much time to happen. So what we did was we installed a non-weight, and we waited for 1 day to collect data, and we installed another non-weight on the next day, and we collected data. The problem was we didn't get the entire change. Our model accuracy was very low, very low actually. And then we started analyzing the data again. We realized that the changes didn't happen completely when we collected the training data. Then we started the next set of training, where we installed the antennas, and we waited like 1 week to collect all the data. And like that, we installed different weights, and we collected the training data. And finally, we nailed it. So we could get an accuracy, like I said before, like 99% of the time we could predict with a standard error of like 30 kg, less than 30 kg. And still, if we have more training data, we can still reduce it. So we nailed it finally. So we have a right model to predict it. Okay. Now, this is how our model data looks like. If you look here, this is where we started all this training. We actually had training data before, which I said before, we didn't collect enough data to, we didn't wait enough time to complete all the changes to collect the data. So I ignored all the data, and we collected the data from here. And this blue line shows the actual weight loading pattern, training loading pattern, and the orange line shows the regression curve. So you can see this data is coming down because we removed all the weights. So it is coming down. It started coming down actually. So the regression model actually works well. I mean, it matches very well with the actual loading patterns. You can see that. This is this one thing. And now the biggest problem. So we actually wanted to find out different things like how do we assess the health of the tower from all these things. So of course, one is the vibration. It's a very straight reading. So if you see that an increasing vibration pattern, you can straight away say that something is wrong. So you really have to go and fix it. Okay. Another is sway. Sway also it may be slow, so you need to continuously monitor sway, how much it is varying over a period of time. That is also going to say your tower is going to become non-functional very soon. And another is the exceeding weight on the tower. So how do we find out the exceeding weight in the tower? So you need the model to know at any given point of time what is the weight on the tower and what is the design capacity of the tower. And then you can say, okay, this tower is overloaded, or this tower is underutilized, or the tower is overutilized. You can say. So all these things together, we come up with an index. Say that tower health index. So we have an algorithm to give weightage for all these factors considering, and then we give a health index, and the health index says the tower is safe or not. That's how the entire solution looks like. So here I am going to conclude what we did, and then we'll have a little more discussion on if you have any questions, and then we'll close it. So the biggest thing, the very, very important thing in the solution is suitable data acquisition system. So you need to design a very accurate, very reliable, consistent data acquisition system to get that real data from the asset. If you don't get the actual data, the real data, the accurate data, all those things that you are going to next is going to be in vain. So nothing is going to happen. So make sure that when you design a data acquisition system, it works. It gives you the data that you are anticipating. Okay, that is very, very important that you need to do. And don't go behind any fancy texts. The fancy texts are fancy. It might not work well in the field. So you need to choose something that works in the field for the situation. I'm not saying that fancy texts are bad. I'm not saying that. It is suitable in different condition, but the point is you need to choose the right tech to do the connectivity, to do the power and everything. So the data acquisition system, that the sensor network has to be perfect. If that is screwed up, then everything is screwed up. So make sure that everything is good and the data acquisition system is good. So like I said, so you get a lot of data from the sensors. The sensors are exposed to harsh conditions, I said before. So the problem with that is when there is a harsh condition, there are a lot of probability that you get a lot of noise in the data. Then it's very, very important that you remove all the noise from the data. So if you don't remove the noise, and all your calculations or modeling and predictions are going to be in trouble. So you won't get the actual correlation, collinearity, nothing you will get. So you really have to remove all the noise from the data. So use the right statistical filtering algorithms and everything to make sure that your data is clean. So once your data is clean, it's easy for you to take you to the next step of signal processing. It's very easy. And then you can do the right model. You can find the right model. And once you do the model, and then you have the output. I mean, you have the model and then you predict the outcome. Then you can visualize the outcome in whatever way you wanted to. You can have web dashboards. You can have mobile application. You can think of anything that you wanted to. So you can, once you have the right output, then you can visualize the way you wanted to. So we have web dashboards, we have mobile applications to give them the real-time values of the loads, the vibrations, and the corrosion, everything. You have that. So we built everything around it. So with that, I'm summing up with my talk, and we can have I can take questions and discuss on the questions. Thank you all.
Yeah. Thank you, Abdul Khader,
Yeah.
for a nice presentation. I think we have some questions.
Okay.
I think I will read out
Okay.
one by one. So the first question uh, from Venkata Subramaniam Ganapati. For revealing the challenges in the spectral content corresponding to the SHM data, which transform is best suited, DFT or SDFT?
So I have a lot of limitations in giving out so many things about the models and all, because I have some NDAs and with my customers, so I cannot give you all those specifics, though I know it. So I'm sorry about that, because if I do that, there is an NDA violation. I know this talk is recorded, so I can get into a lot of legal issues, but I can give some very high level answers for it. Um, I don't know how to say it. Sir, can you repeat the questions one more to me?
For revealing the challenges in the spectral content corresponding to the SHM data, which transform is best suited, DFT or STFT? I think this is a technical question, not related to any maybe revealing content.
Yeah, I know. The problem is, yeah, I'm thinking about how much problem I am getting into that by giving you that.
Okay.
Yeah, we can say it is DFT. I can say it is DFT. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So I think the next question, I think you must be very careful to answer. What happens to the data that is being collected? Is there any guidelines for from government authorities? So basically, you can tell what are the guidelines followed while you are collecting data. Is there any specific things from the government side?
Not really. There are not any specific government guidelines for it. So we collected the data, and the data is in the cloud server, and which is protected. It is an asset of the customer, and we share the asset together. So it is there. Nothing happens, and there is no government guidelines for it.
I think the question might be something related to privacy issues.
Privacy, yeah, of course there. Of course it is there. Like I'm not supposed to give out this data to anybody. Okay, because it is an ownership of the asset owner. The data is owned by the asset owner, because it is their data and it can affect their business. So it is exposing them, right? So it's very important we don't expose this data.
Okay. Yeah. So I think we do not have other questions. So I would like to invite Mr. Samir to thank the presenter. Over to Samir.
Yeah, yes, sir. So, dear all, it was a great presentation in the sense that Mr. Abdul actually gave us the ground truth, the reality, by explaining the application, especially the domain in detail. He also shared his findings, which is very useful to us. And in fact, this is my first presentation on this particular topic. So even I found it very informative, and was also quite amazed by the technologies that they have implemented for structural monitoring. So I'm quite curious also to learn more. So I hope the participants also must be feeling that way. So so it was a wonderful presentation. So on behalf of the organizers as well as all the participants, I would like to thank Mr. Abdul of Alcodex for having taken this presentation. Thank you. Thank you, Abdul.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Yeah.
Thank you, Abdul Kader, for
Thank
joining.
you. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the opportunity. And I want to thank everybody for listening to me patiently for like 1 hour or so, right? So I'm very grateful for that. Thank you very much.